Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Kiorkof, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're talking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire and why he's not only a fantastic first-round selection going into our 2020 fantasy football drafts, but why he could be a league-winning running back here in 2020. On today's episode, I'm going to talk about the statistics and my thought process behind Clyde Edwards-Helaire and where I'm comfortable taking him in the first round and why he could be a league-winning running back. Before we begin today's video, let me remind all of you, Andrew Kiorkof's Fantasy Football Draft Guide was released officially yesterday, August 10th. It is now available for you to purchase. You can go down to the description of the video, check out my video that I posted yesterday talking about everything that's going to be involved there and on the Patreon. Patreon.com/AndrewKiorkof and AndrewKiorkof.com are both down in the description of the video for you guys who are looking for more information on this regarding it or looking to go ahead and purchase it this offseason. I really do appreciate the support. Everything that goes into this was a lot of offseason hard work, and everything I get out of it goes right back into the channel, being able to increase the production quality and bring you guys more active videos on a weekly basis. Again, subscribe to the channel because we are going to be bringing you guys content all season long, whether it's this offseason going into the regular season. Fantasy football is the main topic here, and that's going to be brought to you guys every single day. Without further ado, let's talk about Clyde Edwards-Helaire and why I really do believe he's one of these running backs that can be a first-round pick and a league winner in 2020. You know, seeing a running back in the first round end up being a top 5 guy by the end of the season is not something that's been rare. I mean, we go back to 2016, we saw Ezekiel Elliott become the number 2 overall back in a half PPR sense. Then the following season, Kareem Hunt and Alvin Kamara were the number 3 and number 4 overall backs. And then in 2018, we saw Saquon Barkley do it. Sure, because Josh Jacobs got injured and wasn't able to become a top 10 back doesn't mean that Clyde Edwards isn't capable of accomplishing this goal. And the fact of the matter is, sure, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a smaller back, but I don't like the argument that the smaller stature of a back is going to diminish his potential value and opportunity, because the value and opportunity that he's presented in the Kansas City Chiefs offense is unbelievable and is unmatched by some of these other organizations, even with the big stud running backs that you guys all love. But to be honest, let's go ahead and let's talk about what Clyde Edwards did in LSU and what makes him such a valuable back and why he was the first round selection for the Kansas City Chiefs in 2020. I mean, besides the fact he had 215 rushing attempts for 1,414 rushing yards, 16 total rushing touchdowns, 64 targets for 55 receptions for 453 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. I mean, this is an unbelievable running back. He's just as good on the ground and in between the tackles than he is in the passing game and being able to catch the ball 9 times against Alabama and destroy them in the passing game. He is a dynamic running back. I mean, when we talk about in between the tackles, for a 5'8", 207-pound running back, he gets the job done. Last season at LSU, 894 of his total 1,400 rushing yards were between the A's and B gaps. He's going to run it up the middle despite his stature, hide behind offensive linemen, and then break off for huge runs. He had 21 carries of 15-plus yards last season. Sure, his 4.60 speed at the NFL Combine wasn't something to be like super proud of, and it wasn't something that we're all looking at and being like, okay, he's a next-level speed kind of guy. He doesn't need that next-level speed because he has the elusiveness. I mean, in LSU last season, he had 71 forced missed tackles on the ground, and he had 14 tackles broken in the passing game. I mean, 782 yards after contact. I mean, when we talk about a smaller statured guy, this is why I have so much confidence in guys like Christian McCaffrey and Austin Eckler to be studs, because despite their size, they're still going to pack a punch and punish defenders. Outside of that, the only thing I need you guys to go and check out after this video, just go watch Clyde Edwards-Helaire against Alabama last season. 100 rushing yards on the ground. Again, like I mentioned, 9 catches, 77 yards through the air, and 4 total touchdowns against Alabama. That'll just prove to you why he was the first round pick and why the Kansas City Chiefs are going to put everything in his basket this season, and why he could potentially run away with it and be a top league-winning running back in 2020. Now, the opportunity that the Chiefs are going to present him is unlike no other, right? You're not only going to just be flanked by Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, who are going to pull attention and pull defenses away and empty a stacked box situation, but you have Patrick Mahomes, who is going to feed you the ball out of the backfield. I mean, last season, Chiefs running backs ran the ball 311 times and had 110 total targets. That also led to 17 total touchdowns. Well, you're thinking, okay, how the heck did these Chiefs running backs, it was just like a rotation of guys, Damian Williams, LaShawn McCoy, Spencer Ware, Darrell Williams, Darwin Thompson, a little bit of Anthony Sherman here and there as a fullback. How the heck did they total 17 touchdowns? When you're associated with one of the best offenses in the National Football League, touchdowns are going to be an easy process. I mean, the fact that these guys on a weekly basis are getting opportunities in the red zone as much as they did, this is the success that's always going to be in line for Kansas City running backs on a weekly basis. I mean, last season, they had 56 red zone rushing attempts amongst running backs and 16 attempts from inside the 5-yard line. Beautiful. If all those, which should all go in the direction of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, we're talking about a guy that has top 5 potential in red zone rushing attempts, which, like we've talked about in the past, when you're in the top 5 in red zone rushing attempts, you're probably going to finish as an RB1 without a doubt because of how many touchdowns that eventually produces into. But regardless, besides the opportunity he gets, we got to talk about what other running backs have produced in this backfield, because sure, Damian Williams wasn't able to be the stud running back that they wanted him to be because of the injuries and him not really getting the full opportunity at times. But Kareem Hunt did it. Back in 2017 and 2018, Kareem Hunt was the lead back of this team. And obviously the off-the-field issues had him cut from the team. But prior to his release, in 27 games, Kareem Hunt averaged 18 fantasy points per game in a half PPR scoring format. That's what Clyde Edwards is. I mean, that's really his ceiling. I mean, Kareem Hunt's not that much bigger of a back. He's not that much more talented on the ground. If anything, Clyde Edwards is a better receiving back overall. And that opportunity is going to be there for Clyde Edwards to step in and be the team's Kareem Hunt. I mean, I've mentioned this in the past. The Spencer Ware issue that pretty much jolted Kareem Hunt's rookie year. Spencer Ware in the preseason had an ACL injury, gone. Kareem Hunt stepped in and took over the job in the 2017 season, and that's how he got the job. It's so much similar to the fact that Clyde Edwards was drafted, and then the starter ahead of him, Damian Williams, opting out and then giving him and launching him into the first round of value and being a guy that we cannot ignore. Clyde Edwards is absolutely going to be a beast. And it's happened through Andy Reid's career. I mean, on the screen, you can see it. Andy Reid, in the last 16 seasons as a head coach in the National Football League, has produced 11 RB1s in half-point PPR scoring formats. And to be honest, last season was a fluke because of the fact that there were just injuries left, right, and center. Otherwise, they're always producing RB1s, and now that they've found their running back of the future, I really have extreme confidence in the fact that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to be able to produce in this backfield and dominate. Outside of that, Kareem Hunt, when he was with the Chiefs, only faced 8+ defenders in the box about 15% of the time. Last season, what's his name? Damian Williams. Damian Williams only faced 8+ defenders 8% of the time. That's mainly due to the fact that this offensive line isn't going to be tested often because you have such deadly speed on the outside. When you have Mecole Hardman, Sammy Watkins, Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill in the same offensive formation, defenses cannot stack the box, and it's going to allow this offensive line to get onto linebackers and let Clyde Edwards-Helaire run rampant on defenses. I'm super excited about his potential. When we look at running backs like Derrick Henry, who has to play against 8 defenders in the box 35% of the time in comparison to what Chiefs running backs have to deal with, it's just beautiful. And to be honest, when we talk about the first round and we talk about running backs and where Clyde Edwards pretty much lands, sure, he might not be a top 3 back because he hasn't produced anything. And who wants to spend a top 3 pick when you could automatically get a stud like Christian McCaffrey, Ezekiel Elliott, and Saquon Barkley, who in their 3 seasons in the last 3 seasons have all been guys that have been studs. Why would we want to, take a risk on that? Why would we want to jump to conclusions and risk that process? Sure, forget those guys. You're not going to draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire picks 101 to 103. You don't have to do that. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire, when we start getting to the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th overall selections, that's where his hype and his, the motivation of drafting him early to potentially have that league winner starts to rise. When we talk about Alvin Kamara last season, injured and really wasn't able to produce very often, wasn't able to find the end zone because the offense was just airing it out to their receivers, Jared Cook, Michael Thomas, a bunch of receiving touchdowns from them, and they were dominating through the air, and they didn't really have to run the ball very often. Is Alvin Kamara going to be given the workhorse opportunity that we want him to have? Because sure, he can catch the ball 80 times in a season, But if he's not going to have the rushing touchdowns and the rushing opportunity down in the red zone, it pretty much kills his value to an extent. Dalvin Cook, another one of these guys that should be selected early in draft. A guy that averaged almost 19 fantasy points in a half PPR setting last season. We don't even know if he's going to be signing with his team. They're trying to come up with a deal, but they haven't really struck anything as of late to kind of excite us and think, okay, Dalvin Cook's for sure going to play this season, because that might not be the case. And we might have to talk about Alexander Mattison later on this offseason. And then you have Derrick Henry, a guy that was absolutely one of the best. He had the rushing title last season, had double-digit touchdowns, unstoppable throughout the regular season and the playoffs. But that's his 1 year. Is there going to be potential regression in touchdowns, yardage? What are we going to see from there? Sure, I think those 6 guys that I mentioned could potentially come off the board 1 through 6, no worries. Michael Thomas can flank them. And at the 8th overall pick, if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is there, that's an automatic pick for me. I honestly wouldn't mind drafting Clyde Edwards-Helaire over a Derrick Henry in a full PPR sense. Sure, Derrick Henry's going to be getting the potential 1,300 rushing yards, 15 total touchdowns. But if he's not catching the ball 60, 70 times like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire is capable of doing, like Kamara is capable of doing, then his value is absolutely diminished in the first round, which continues to rise the value of Clyde Edwards. And that's why I believe not only is he a guy where even if you miss out on one of the blue chip players, the top 7 picks, you can potentially get one of these guys. Like a Clyde Edwards, maybe he switches, and it makes the first round even more valuable. It makes it so where there's even more expanded depth at the position. So even if you miss out on one of the first 6 guys, at number 7, you're going to still get a stud, because either Clyde Edwards gets picked ahead of you and pushes the other guys down, or Clyde Edwards is sitting there available for your selection. And at that point, if he's coming off the board number 7, number 8, I'm automatically drafting him. I did it a couple of days ago in a live mock draft. Clyde Edwards is an automatic in my eyes. And as the offseason continues to progress, he's going to continue to rise on draft boards. But don't let it get out of hand. Don't start taking him in the first 3 selections, because sure, the opportunity is there and the hype is there. But in terms of guaranteed success, there is none in the National Football League. There is none. And I'd rather go with the guys that have produced year in and year out between Christian McCaffrey, Zeke, and Barkley, and potentially Alvin Kamara, than a guy like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's, going into his first season. But regardless, I have a lot of confidence in him, and hopefully this video has helped you guys kind of understand the kind of potential value he has this coming season. I mean, 16 game season times 18. Let's go ahead and see how many fantasy points that is potentially going to produce. That's 288 half PPR points in a season. That is easily top 5 running back value. And that's why he's a potential league winner going into 2020. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. Again, go down to the description of the video. Check out my 2020 Fantasy Football Draft Guide. Otherwise, like the video if you liked today's video. And until next time, which we'll be talking about the hard knocks, player profiles, draft strategies, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure notifications are on. And that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed. And until next time, I'll see you guys. Peace.